All right, we're ready to begin the segment on case and power supply, and the first step, of course, is to remove the case. Here we have the first system we're building, the economy model, and most cases usually come off by having the entire case slide off as a unit. This one's a little bit different, a little bit nicer, and it actually comes off in different segments. First of all, we have each side panel comes off separately so that it's nicer to get access to the cards and the motherboard, hooking the wires up to the motherboard, so we'll get that off. It's got a little handle here, we'll just slide it, and it comes off just like that. It's much easier than it used to be. And we'll do the same thing with the other side. We have 2 screws to remove there as well. Use our magnetic tip screwdriver. Now, some people say that they like to use a power screwdriver. I don't recommend that because maybe for disassembly, but for assembly you can strip out these screws very easily, so I would not recommend a power screwdriver. Sometimes we need to remove the front cover to get access to some of these drives will come out through the front, so we may need to take the front cover off. Now, this is a little bit trickier. If we look at the front from the back side of the front cover, you might see on some of them there's actually screws holding it in, so we certainly wouldn't want to pull those off if they're not designed to be pulled off that way. They may have to be unscrewed. This one actually is designed to be pulled off. I've already looked behind there and found out that there aren't any screws holding it in. And underneath here we have a couple of tabs. If we push up on those, it just lifts away and just comes up like that. You do want to be careful, though. On some systems, as I said, they are screwed in, and so you don't want to be pulling off a cover that's meant to be unscrewed. But this one just pulls off like this. Now, here's the thing that I was talking about earlier in the safety segment on the power switch. This is a power switch right here, and on the other side of the power switch is the wire that comes off of that power switch. As you can see, these are very, very small wires. So this is the newer ATX design where the power switch doesn't have any dangerous voltages on it. If you were to look at another system, and if you notice at the back of the power switch you had a really big heavy cable like you might see on an extension cord, then that would be the type that would actually be carrying 120 volts. And we don't have it plugged in, so that's definitely not a problem even with those kind of computers. But if you ever have to troubleshoot a computer and you have that type of power switch, be very careful around it. Those are older systems, though, so we're not likely to run into those for new systems. So all the ATX designs have the power switch that does not present any danger to us. So that's another reason to stick with ATX. Okay, now we're going to take a look inside the case before we put the motherboard in. This is a very, very good case. You might notice that these are all rounded edges here. There is no chance of you hurting yourself on this case. A lot of the older cases had very sharp edges, and you would really end up getting cut to ribbons practically trying to put together one of those systems. So there's been a lot of good improvements in case design, and for only $50 they've done a very good job at putting this one together. The motherboard will go in here, and that'll be the next thing we'll be putting in. I'd like you to also look at the back of this. And the back of this is a micro ATX case. We saw the back of the ATX case before. That had 8 slots. This is exactly the same, except it only has the 4 slots. Also, the power supply, if we had a chance to look at this power supply, the label is hidden here, but if we looked at the label, we'd find out that this is only a 135 watt power supply. So this is going to be limited in the kinds of processors and video cards that it can run. Those are a couple of the heaviest power users, and so this is going to be a very limited system. Here we have the mid-level tower, also known as a mid-tower, and we look at the back and there aren't any screws to remove the case. That's because this is a different design, similar to a lot of systems like from Compaq and Dell and a few others. And as a matter of fact, there's a little drawing on the case right here, shows exactly how to take this apart. And it says you have to reach under the front. This is the front of the computer. You have to reach under the front with a little handhold, and you have to bring it away from the front about 10 degrees or so, and that's going to release the front. And then that gets us access to the entire case. So that's what we'll do. We'll turn this around and get at it from the front. Now if you look down here, there's a little handle right here. We simply pull up on this and it releases the bottom part. We tilt it up and it should come right off. So that's all there is to that in terms of removing the front. Once again, like the other system, we have the side panels that are removable. Very nice design. They've gone through a lot of improvements over the years. And all we have to do is remove one screw from each side. Use a little handle and just pull the side covers off. We'll do the same thing with the other side. Now a couple of notable things here. Actually on the other system as well, there was room for a fan in the front, but it was not included. That was an option. This one, because they're expecting you to have more items in the system, they actually include a fan along with it. And this one is only $20 more than the other system, so you may actually want to, even on a bare minimum system, you may want to opt for a full-blown mid-level tower to begin with, and that allows you to get in for a low price but be very expandable. And that's the end of this segment. The next segment will be a tour of the motherboard before we install it.